Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk briefly in different aspects about how to ensure good reliability, good quality for mobile apps, especially in regulated industries.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to join Diego and you today to talk about the mobile industry improvements in the testing and especially in the regulated industries. As I mentioned, I am joining from Berlin, Germany, and I am the senior product manager of Real Device Cloud at South Labs. Diego?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Diego. I've been in different roles at SOS. So I've been in engineering, I've been in open source, I've been working with customers. So I do a bit of everything. I'm also one of the leads at the Selenium project. So I'm really happy to be here to share some insights about our product and the different learnings that we can share with you all today. Um, so right, let's jump to it. Um, I think one of the realities we're seeing in our industry is that years ago, the typical thing was to go to a physical branch of whatever you needed to. So, like if you had insurance, you had to go to the insurance office. Same thing with the healthcare facilities. If you needed an appointment, you had to go there. Obviously, you still have to go to the doctor's praxis to attend the appointment, but like getting appointments or like sending documents, you have to do everything in person, and especially with banks as well, like long queues, waiting times, and so on. Um, but obviously, time has evolved, and today, what is happening is that the mobile app is the new branch storefront. So it really depends on how your app performs in terms of quality, in terms of reliability, in terms of performance, in terms of like UX, and that is how that experience is defining your brand. So that is how your customers are perceiving you, and that is how you can start building trust between your brand and your customers. This also brings a bunch of issues when you're trying to reach really good quality and really good experiences. It happens often that people try an application, a mobile app, one time, and then if they got a really bad experience, they abandon it. And if they abandon it, or maybe they really need to use it, but they cannot really get done what they need to be doing, then they will start getting a really bad perception about your brand. So they will start avoiding the brand, and even so, they will start to not recommend your brand when someone is asking them, "What bank are you using?" Then they will tell them, like, "Yeah, I'm using this one, but please avoid it because I'm switching to this other one that has a better experience for me." Um, More than that, when the mobile application is not really performing well, especially in e-commerce apps, then this is visible in the sense that you will see a drop in how your conversion rate is just going down. Um, so it's not just good enough to have like a testing strategy and cover different parts of the application quality and performance and security, because all these things will bring something as a consequence. So if they cannot use your app because they have bad experiences, they won't trust your brand, right? If they don't trust your brand, they will probably start posting negative reviews in the different app stores. And if they're not using your brand, if they don't trust it, if they don't recommend your brand, well, then customer churn will be happening pretty soon. So yeah, like it's not enough to have a strategy for quality, take care of the different aspects of the software development lifecycle, but it's also really important to take care of like the end-to-end quality.
Actually, it's really important, Diego, in today's paced world, everything is happening so quickly, and there are also hundreds of different alternatives when it comes to both in retail or in finance. Yes, sometimes it's taking time to switch to the other platform or other brand, but still people are as soon as possible willing to switch because of this negative reviews or a bad experience that they're having on their devices.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I've seen, and I've been reading about this topic for several years, is that um, getting a new customer is really, really expensive. So this first impression is really important. And if you make the first good impression a good one, then it's more likely that you can retain a good customer for a long time. So it's way more expensive to get a new customer than actually retaining one. So there is one aspect here that, this is a problem. Like if your application is not causing a good impression in your customers, it's a problem, right? But especially in regulated industries like finance, healthcare, or insurances, like if your app is not actually facilitating what your customers should be doing, if it's blocking them for whatever reason, a quality, a bug, a network performance issue, um, you name it, like it's not working on this or that device, then this could actually convert into a fine from the governmental entity that regulates that segment of the economy. So it could be something like just one issue that could come into the thousands of dollars or euros as a fine. But then if there is maybe lack in the security compliance, then and some private data is leaking, then it's a percentage of the income of the company over a year. So all these things are extremely important because a single bug could actually become quite of a problem for the company on the financial side.
In my previous job, I was also working in financial side, and I can ensure that's just a simple bug or misleading and misinformation to the customers. It can actually provides $1 million of operational costs or so many legal consequences. That's very important to mitigate these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key things that I want you to live with, like if you want to take something from this session, is that in a regulated industry and also in non-regulated industries should be really important, but more especially in trusted industries that are regulated, when you have a compliance program, the mobile testing strategy should be as rigorous as the compliance one. So they should be tightly aligned, so each one of them facilitates the other one. There is also a technical or technology part that is changing and evolving very often. So you have to cover all the different aspects in the regulation, and you have to test in a wide range of combinations that is changing constantly. So this is just an example of how often updates and new releases are done on different aspects of the mobile spectrum. So for example, every year we get new devices from the different brands. We get new mobile operating systems from the different flavors, and inside them, especially in the Android world, then you have like the flavor from Samsung, the flavor from Xiaomi, and so on. And especially also with with Apple, that changes the operating system on every single release. This is really tough to track. And if you are trying to, like maintain this in a way that you can test on every single device, combined with the regulation changes every single year, it's just a nightmare, right? So what we're bringing here is a proposed solution for you all that hopefully can help you navigate in this nightmare. But one key thing is that this is not really just using a tool to solve your problems. This is more a framework that can help you navigate through the regulation and through the different fragmentation that we see in the mobile ecosystem. So the idea is that you're able to understand how the code could navigate from beginning to end in a secure and solid way. So the first step or the first proposal we have for you is that to compensate with the enormous device fragmentation, you could easily start covering the different scenarios that you have in your testing process with, for example, with emulators and simulators. Why? Because you can use this technology to do early testing. You can integrate this into your CI/CD pipelines. You can validate quickly and get rapid feedback into your changes and see if what you're doing actually is making sense and is not breaking what already exists. It's offering you this type of setup. It's offering you near real world connect conditions, so you can simulate how the different interactions that a user will do with your app, if it's a mobile web app as well. So this is very useful because in a sense, you can move to the left and start testing early in a way that you can scale up, and you can also be very cost efficient and just enable all your developers and testers to test as early as they want. And the idea is to combine this approach with the real devices, because in a sense, when you have a real device, this is the real thing. So I like to call this is the gold standard for mobile testing, because, for example, at Sauce Labs, we have like over 9,000 physical devices that you can use to basically test every single use case in every single combination that you have in your market. So interestingly, one of the use cases that I like the most is to see how new versions of the application affect the performance of the device. So for example, you can check how the battery behaves, how how much memory is being used in the application, and so on. So you can start comparing those different values from build to build and understand how well your application is behaving or not. In addition, you can also test things like how your application would behave in different network conditions, like if you are in the subway, or if you are in an area with low coverage, then you can understand how your application will behave. So this brings you really, really close to how your customers are using the application, and this combination between the real and the virtual devices is just a win ticket for the device fragmentation.
It's really actually early to shift left in the early development lifecycle with the emulators and simulators on your app, because as you mentioned, it's very efficient, it's so fast, and you can run thousands of tests on these virtual machines, emulators and simulators. But before you release, when you test on the real devices, actually you see what your end users are experiencing in this variety of different thousands of devices and different operating systems and different versions of those operating systems, because it's really hard to manage these many devices in-house in your company. It takes too much cost, time, maintenance, and also running after the device as well as the device. Hey, Diego took it at home, so you need to wait until he's back. And so you eliminate all this kind of burden while using our device cloud.
Right. Yeah, we have two demos during this session. We're going to start with the first one. This is a recorded one. The next one will be a live demo. This demo will show you briefly in a couple of minutes the wide range of capabilities that our platform has for you. So let's get started. When you interact with our platform, you have the option of using the real devices or the simulators and emulators, and you can test your app or your web application. So usually you will start by uploading your app, and you just go to your to our app management section. You upload your APK or your IPA if you're having a real device for iOS. And then our platform will quickly identify what type of application you're going to be using, if it's for a simulator or an emulator, or if it can be used for both in this case. So after uploading them, you can easily go there and analyze the detail of the application. So you can see the file name, the file ID, but you can also see a bunch of features that you can enable or disable depending on the type of testing you want to do, if you want to do network capturing and so on. Then if you want to do automated testing, you need to configure some test options. That this is basically a way to tell Sauce Labs how you want to start your session. If it's like a web session, you can tell, okay, I want to use this device or that device, and which orientation and the browser. And if it's a native application, you just tell us what the application is. Obviously, you need to set your Sauce user, your Sauce account, and basically the session will start using this information. So this is a quick demo that was executed on our platform. And what we see there is that we're using our demo application to see how things are working depending on the script that is being used. So you can always filter if you're using virtual devices or real devices, or both if you want to have a wider coverage. And if the test is executing, you can see how it is working in a live session. And after the test ends, you can head to the test results to understand how things were working. So you can see the different interactions with the application, but you can also see the comments that were used to drive the automation during the session. So in this case, one great tool that we have is to examine the view tree, which is the structure of the application that you just tested. So if you had a bug, you can understand the structure of the application and double check your script to see if it was correct or not. But there is a bit more, like you can also check the logs, the device log, if you want to share information with the developer, the Appium log as well, which is telling you how the session started, how it navigated, and so on. And this is one of my favorite parts, like the performance and the performance of the CPU and memory performance that helps you understand how the application behaved. In this case, if it was like a web mobile application, you can also do the same. And then you can navigate through it and understand how the test went and how the application behaved. But what happens if your application crashes, right, during testing? You can also understand how the network behaved during the test. And more than that, if the application crashed, you can go and see the stack trace of the application. And you can share this with the developer. You can use it to debug.
Yes, and we also have a question from Deepak. He said, do I get to pick a device in a specific country? To give an example, can I test how my application will behave in China? So right now, you cannot select a device from any specific country because devices are located in the data centers. So we have data centers in United States and EU. And the good news is now we are also opening a new DC in the India. Your app or device cannot behave like it's in China, but you can simulate some of the real life scenarios within the device. For example, you can change the geolocation of the device by an input by yourself. Then the device will think its location in this case it's in China. Then your app, if it's behaving regarding to the location information, then yes, you can test this kind of scenarios. But if you can elaborate more, I'd like to give more information. And now it's time to talk about the Real Device Cloud Access API. I'm really excited to talk about it because the major evolution in mobile testing capabilities, because we are launching a product that fundamentally changes how you can interact with all real devices in the cloud, moving towards a more open and flexible future. Because for years, any company, any of you, if you would like to utilize the testing with the real devices from the cloud providers, you had to operate under what is known as traditional testing framework, because this only way to talk to the real devices is through to the test framework gate, like Appium or Espresso. So if you're not using the standard framework, or if those frameworks couldn't do what you really need to do, it's blocking you. It's blocking the innovation, and it requires some custom workarounds or makes you to skip some of the important test scenarios and strategies. So that's why we are introducing Real Device Cloud Access API. Industry is the first and only uh, available programmatic approach API solution, which provides a modern, flexible, and powerful direct access to the real devices. So what I mean by direct and low-level access, basically we are providing explicit and full control of the device. I'm not talking about just a high-level tap or swipe comments. This is exactly the low-level access to run ADB shell or XC run-like comments or WDA comments. Other than that, you can also manage files directly to the devices. You can push file, pull file, you can install an app, remove app, and you can interact with the devices as they are connected and plugged on your desk to your local machine. So that's why these controls allows us to remove the test framework constraints, right? So this framework only gate is now gone, which means if you want, you can use your own custom framework, an AI-driven tool, a low-code platform, or observability tool. Basically, it doesn't matter if it can talk to an API, it can now use our device cloud as well. And now this opening up entirely new capabilities and use cases for you, for our customers. And at the end, also, it's providing an enhanced observability, which leads to the faster debugging and finding the problems quickly, because you have direct persistent API connection, which means you can stream the device logs, you can stream the device logs, network logs, you can see the performance data in real time. And for example, when a tester fails, you don't have to wait for the session to end, then go to the test report page and analyze the static report. Now you can see the failure as it happens, or even you can keep the session alive so you can debug it. So this is a massive win for reducing the test flakiness and solving the problems the faster. Why Access API matters to you? So first of all, you are eliminating the infrastructure burden. So this has been always our core value with the Real Device Cloud at South Labs. But this new API now adding a new powerful dimension on top of what we have already. So now you can get the deep control and flexibility through to this API, and you can you can act as these devices are your own device grid, and you have an API for it, right? So, which means we are providing you with our global scale and zero operational headache or maintenance or cost. We are providing you to your own device grid. And we give you, as I mentioned, this low-level direct device control. As I said, you can execute this precise low-level commands, ADB shell, XCRun, transfer files on the device on the desk experience, and we are giving you the deep granular control you need for your complex scenarios. And the other benefit of this API is you are having a better device utilization, because as I mentioned, our session catching story, you are not losing the session. Now we are giving you a 24 hours long living device sessions. Within a single session, for example, you can run back-to-back tests, you can have the observability after the crash, and it will slash to the waste of time on debugging, and also dramatically speeds up your CI pipelines and help you to get more value from the devices. Other benefit is agentic AI workflow already, because as I mentioned, this API offers direct control. We have officially removed the framework-only gate. So this means you can utilize AI-driven platforms, low-code tools, or your own custom-built framework. And we are also helping with this API to help you to faster root cause analysis. This is also connected with the debugging as well, because one of the single biggest frustration in testing is the flakiness, right? So with this API, since you have this real-time visibility into everything like device log, network, audio log, video streaming, now you can see the problem as it happens instead of just reading a static report 20 minutes later. And when a test fails, as I said, the session is active. The developer doesn't just need to get into the log file. They can just jump into the live session, and then exactly they point out the failure and debug the problem on hands-on. So this is turning hours of guesswork into minutes of direct analysis. The key takeaway here is that this high-value pain point is to listen for. It's important for customers who are needing custom capabilities, custom Appium drivers or custom frameworks, and the customers who are required low-level access to the devices. If we switch to the next slides, I can also talk about a couple of real-life examples, so just to give you a better idea about the utilization of this API. The first one is the running synthetic tests. So imagine you need to run a suite of 100 tests, and each test goes through its own full setup, device allocation, tear down cycle, right? So finding the device, installing the app, tearing it down, it can minimum take 4 or 5 minutes per test, and adding up some time and cost to your daily work. And with the API, with the Access API, we simplify this process and provide, as I mentioned, single long-lived 24-hour session. And once the setup is ready, you can run these 100 tests back to back without interruption and without any cleaning process as well, because we are also giving the flexibility of the cleaning device for your next test to in your control. You can decide to keep the session, not clear any cache, to debug the result of the failure or analysis. And when you need it, you can clean the device and it can be ready for the next person. So value is very simple here, actually. You're directly gaining faster pipelines and massive reduction in the device time. The next one is I already mentioned, the custom test stack readiness. So this is a common pain point for our most advanced customers. They are sometimes relying on custom Appium driver, local Appium server, or to handle unique parts of their app. And in the traditional model, it was our customers were completely blocked because of these framework constraints. But with the Access API, now we are opening these gates, and now you can connect your own local custom Appium server or custom frameworks. So this means instead of trying to solve the problems with the today's limitations in the mobile testing, now you have all the flexibility. Instead of trying to solve these problems, you can focus on the innovation. And the last part is also the observability, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that in traditional testing, post-mortem analysis are inefficient because debugging requires the text execution completed, test reports need to be generated, then somebody needs to go there and analyze the problem and understand the understand the root cause with the Access API. Session is there 24 hours. It's active. It provides allowing you to immediate live debugging with the active sessions. In the next part, Diego will share a live demo on Access API, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that. I think that like when I saw this internally and it was presented for the first time, I thought it was really exciting. It was a new approach to having access to a device in a simple way, because one of the pain points I've heard when I go to a conference or to a meetup, sometimes people want to have the device and do extra things that you cannot really do through Appium, for example, or through XUI test. And this API is basically giving you a device to manipulate it in any way you want, like if you had the device on your desk. So let's have a look at the demo. I'm gonna switch to the live demo. And before that, we're gonna share these links in a moment. So if you want to see like the specification of the API and see some examples in our GitHub, organization, SauceLabs/Real Device API, there's the repository. You can see the Open API specification as well, but also some scripts that can help you play with it if you want to, and some samples. In addition to that, we're working on putting this in our documentation. So this is the preview of an internal pull request where you will see and you will be able to play with the Real Device API. So rest assured that these links will be shared with you when they're ready. So okay, going back here, if you explore this repository, there is something here in the samples area, and there is an API collection. So in this case, I'm using Bruno, the API client, and let's see how this plays with our Access API. So what I'm having here, I'm gonna make this slightly bigger. So I have the collection loaded already, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna use a device. I'm gonna use the Access API to get the devices I have available for me. So I'm gonna make the call, and this shows me all the devices I have. And basically, this is an internal way of doing it. What I'm trying to say is that this API is useful when you have private devices. In this case, since there is this is just a demo, I'm using a combination of both, but this is only available for private devices. So in this case, I have all these devices ready. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start a session with an Android device. In this case, I'm gonna say, I want a Google Pixel, give me whatever you have available. In this case, the API is replying to me, this is your session ID, and it's pending. So the device is booting, the device is getting ready for me. And if I go to the endpoint that gets me all the data from the device session, I will see that it's already active. And this is where it starts to get interesting. Let me do it again. So yeah, I have all the information here from the device session, and if I had more than one session running, well, I could actually get everything that was running here. I think something. So, for example, I'm gonna get another one just to get an example, and if I play again, this is where it gets way more interesting. So I'm getting a session. This is the second session I'm having. And if I start exploring the different fields I get in the response, I get URLs that are extremely useful if I want to do things locally. For example, I can already see the device. If I want to go to Sauce Labs, I'm going to move briefly to our Sauce Labs UI. I'm going to show you that the device has booted a moment ago. So there it is, it's ready. And as you see, it's a device that is loaded, but it doesn't have any application running. It's just a device that, let's imagine that you had it on your desk, right? So going back to the API collection, I can also see different things, like there is a WebSocket to get all the I/O that is happening in the device. If I want to experiment with the different logs and events that are going through the device, there is a URL, a WebSocket URL that I can use to retrieve all that information. As I said a moment ago, the live URL. Let's imagine that you're having your IDE locally and you want to plug your device. There is a URL that you can use to connect that URL to a local port. And with that, you can see as if your device was connected locally to your IDE. So you could already do like performance testing using the Android IDE, or if you're using XUI test, the same way. Let's move forward. You right now have a device, but you can do way more things with this device. So in this case, I can tell the device, open a URL. And obviously I don't get any reply because it's just doing it on the device. It opens the URL I want. And let's say that I want to install an application. So this is the payload I will send. This is an application I already have loaded in my Sauce Labs account. So when I execute this, I get the reply that it's pending because it's just processing. And if I go here in a moment, I should start seeing how the app will get loaded. I'm going to switch back to the collection for a moment because you can also list the apps that they're getting installed into the device. In this case, it's pending, so I'm just going to wait a bit until it happens. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. And you can also do different things. So while this application gets launched, you can also interact with the applications that are already installed in the device. So you can launch the calculator, for example, and many others. So let's see if the application is already installed. It's still pending. Seems something is not. I'm going to retry this. And let's see if the application is being installed. Okay, so there are two installations that are pending. So I'm going to get back to that in a moment, and I can show you other things in the meantime. As I said, you can launch different things in the device. So in this case, it failed because I think there is something wrong with the device. Something is not working properly. So I'm going to end this session, and we're going to start over again because it happens, you know. So let's start a session again. Let's get the device session. It's already active. And let's start another one just to see that this is working properly. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the live URL. So this session was over. So one of the cool things here that I don't know if you're getting this is that I am manipulating the device in a very granular way. So I'm not, you know, like just using Appium to interact with the device. It's like basically as if I had the device on my hands. So I'm gonna do this again. And while this happens, I want to show you other different endpoints that are pretty cool from this API. You can execute ADB commands directly in the device. And one more interesting thing that Omar was mentioning a moment ago. So, for example, we have a customer that has several private devices and they use it to monitor their mobile application in different marketplaces. And what they do is that they start several Appium tests to do this. It takes a while sometimes to launch again the Appium server and then open the application and so on. But in this case, since you have the device already allocated, you can ask for an Appium device that will run exclusively with this device. So you can do something like start an Appium server. It will take a moment. And as a response, you will get the URL that has the Appium/wd-hub, and that's the URL you can use to start launching Appium tests directly. And this is pretty powerful because this is a device that you can use for minutes, for hours, in any purpose you want with this API. So let me see if the app was installed. So this time it finally works. So the demo app is installed and running. And the cool thing is that, yeah, if it happens that something crashed, you don't have, you don't have to stop, like throw away the device. You can actually just clean up the device and reinstall the app and move forward. So you have more granular control over the device. To finalize, yeah, like if you already have the Appium server running, you can also say, okay, let's start a session with the typical W3C compliant set of capabilities. And as a response, you will get, an Appium session running directly in your device that you're controlling in a very granular way. So that's pretty much it. In summary, now you have your private device on your own hands, and you can basically use it for any purpose you want. So now I'm closing the session. And again, we're going to share these links with the documentation, with the swag, with the OpenAPI, with the OpenAPI specification. Everything will be there for you.
Just want to highlight a couple of the benefits of utilizing Access API. As you can see that you allocate a device in just in 2-3 seconds, then device is yours and you are able to run any automation test you like to run with the Appium. For example, you have the session, you have the observability, you have the logs, you have the video streaming. So basically, we are giving all the tool sets for our customers. And I'm so excited to see what kind of other outcomes or use cases our customers are going to create from this powerful API. I just want to lastly say that Real Device Cloud Access API is in public beta today, which means it's available for all customers. But if you are owning at least one private device within or in SaaS Apps platform.
Many years ago, we were talking mostly about like shift right, like you have to test after everything has been built and the requirements are completed. And then some years ago, we started with like shift left, that you have to move closer to where the code is being implemented and then run tests as soon as you can. So in the end, like it's not really about this or that. It's like more about the full journey. So this is like the third component of the solution we're proposing. So all the cross coverage with all the devices we have, now the granular access and control of the devices that you can have with the Access API. But more than that, the approach has to be that you need to do both, like, shift left, shift right, and also do some traditional QA in the sense of like exploratory testing, try new things, and see that your application is actually fulfilling the different parts of the life cycle. We like to call this continuous quality, basically to balance all these things and to try to put quality in every single step of the development life cycle. One of the interesting numbers here is that Gartner, the famous consultant company, like 70% of the software engineering teams will at some point by next year adopt a continuous quality strategy. So this is something that is happening already. And we're going to keep seeing this in the near future. So how can Sauce Labs help you, right? We're obviously, like as many other aspects in our lives, like we're experimenting and putting more AI into our product, not as a way to, just like put it there to see what happens, but more like understanding what it makes sense into the development life cycle. So we have like now understand where to put it in the middle, at the beginning, at the end. But since we have seen this shift that goes like from the left to the right and every single place, we're understanding where we should put this Sauce AI. So the approach we're taking is that our Sauce AI is embedded into the whole continuous life cycle. So from the build to the test and to the queries and to the deployment and to the monitoring, we want to be present for you. And in this case, when you're doing testing, when you're doing proper testing, right, and you're having different aspects of the testing being used, what happens there is that we have the different flavors for testing that you can use. So like the typical functional testing that you can use in our virtual and real devices. But now we're also making more steps ahead to enable you to do accessibility testing, to do visual testing. And for example, we have like major customers who are like switching to visual testing, like Disney, Walmart, and other ones. And it's really nice to see how this is being embedded into the whole cycle. So one of the interesting things is that we're getting information generating from the tests after they get executed. And this is the main source of data and information. So you can have all the good insights and analytics from your test generated data. And also, we're connecting that into our new proposal, which is Sauce AI for authoring. And the idea here is that we understand how your tests are being executed. We can propose you improvements and fixes in the way your testing is being done. So for example, when we detect flaky tests with the analytics and the insights, we will be able to propose things to you in the sense that, okay, this is how you can improve it. This is what you can switch, and so on. And more than that, like we have our solution for production monitoring that is going to help you understand how all this hard work is going to end up being shown the customer's face. And if something goes wrong, you will be able to understand how it can be captured, how it can be debugged, and how developers and testers can collaborate to fix the bug properly. And obviously, all this lifecycle is easily integrable into the different frameworks, different CI/CD tools, and so on. And if you ever need help, we now have obviously the offer of advisory services that can help you get started or get improved into these different aspects. So let's start wrapping up with the different aspects we covered today. So the gist of it is that Sauce is giving you through our platform a way to drive efficiency, to make sure that you're compliant to the regulations, to the different tools that we offer you, and your expertise, and obviously a way to accelerate that your apps are more reliable, of better quality, and they comply with your different requirements in the different industries you are. And to remember all the things we covered is that we're going to have some takeaways, which are, your mobile app is the front face of your business. So we need to take care of it. We need to, be sure that it's working well, good quality from end to end of the process. And together with that, to help cover that quality, we can use the approach of like a good coverage to the different operating systems, the different devices, the different flavors, and that is what conquers fragmentation. And when you have all this coverage, and you need like a really granular way of using your devices, that's where our secure and flexible testing with the Access API is coming up. And with that, you can actually round the full journey approach that you have all the devices, the granular access to it, and the approach with that combination. It's like a really good framework for solve these issues with different regulations in all these industries. Thank you, Omer, and thank you all for being here. I think we could have like 1 or 2 minutes to answer questions. So somebody's asking, Omer, when you use the Real Device API to test your app in multiple private devices, does this cost extra?
That's a good question. Right now we are in public beta. We do not define 100% or the model of the pricing at the moment, but soon we will be having some new updates regarding this part as well.
Cool, thank you. We didn't get any more questions, and in the interest of time, we're like 2 minutes over the top of the hour. So I just want to thank you all for being here, for listening to us. Thank you, Omer, for sharing also your expertise from the team. And I don't know if you want to share some final words before closing the session, but yeah, thank you for being here.
No, it was really nice to be here today in company to you, answer those questions and talk about product. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, everyone.